Yeah, she was very honest. Akoze usha deal na cancer.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Time has come for us, and we want to thank the DPP for clarification, for case management, for strengthening the ability of the office of the DPP. What was unveiled yesterday will go a long way in the history of Kenya for case management. I equally want to thank the director of DCI for the good work that he has done as far as corruption is concerned. He came, he saw, he conquered some people. He made people feel that it is very bad to steal. Both the DPP and the DCI must work together as a family. There is nowhere in a world where you can arrest a human being without the help of the police. There is nowhere in the world that you can take somebody to prison without the OB number, which must originate from the DCI and the police. And therefore, there is also nowhere in the world whether you can successfully win a case without the help of the judicial systems that understand the problems of the country. What ails Kenya is the criminal justice system. It is not the DPP or DCI fighting or ES. It is the criminal justice system that is fighting for everybody. It's a wrong criminal justice system. We have obstacles. Kenyan constitution has created obstacles. Until those obstacles are removed, like Article 89, where you find conflicting who should take to court, who should arrest, who should investigate, those things must be clear in order the war against corruption can be won. It is not individuals. It is the vice of corruption fighting back. Because corruption is embedded within the criminal justice system. You can arrest prisoners, take them to court, but the court releases them. You can get good evidence, somebody shooting someone in a nightclub, but the court says he did not shoot. So it is not a blame game. I want to call upon the agencies, the DPP, the DCI, the EACC, to work as a team, to deliver the much needed prosecution and conviction of the criminals that feast on the money of the people of Kenya. Let's bring down more monsters who have killed this country through siphoning of money that is meant for projects. Let's not fight wars that are initiated by the same monsters. Let's make it abundantly clear that there is no room for people who steal corruptly, who commit economic crimes to escape. Finally, let the Parliament of Kenya look at bail conditions, which cases are bailable and which ones are not bailable. You cannot steal money on Friday, go to court on Monday, and enjoy money in Seychelles or Mauritius or Mombasa or Zanzibar on Tuesday with your family. For corruption to end, let's look at all those things. Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you who listen to this tape.
A very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us. It's a few minutes past 11 a.m. here in Nairobi. The show is The People's Court, and my name is Miriam Ogutu, and today we have a very important conversation that I think we should have, and that is in line with, we know, Kenya, we do have a problem with corruption. It is something that the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta has been really working hard to try to fight, but also we've seen there's been a lot of obstacles and challenges. And so in the proposal in the BBI, there are some proposal that has been made there on how corruption will be tackled should the BBI pass. So we shall be looking at that. But before we even get to that, I'll bring us some of the content of the ODP's report, Progress on the Fight Against Corruption, that was given to President Uhuru Kenyatta, I think sometimes back in last year in November. That is the latest from the Office of Public Prosecutions, Director of Public Prosecutions there, on corruption and how they've been doing so far. And now we see, and before we even get to that conversation, we know one of the key headlines on today's papers is the KEMSA scandal, and now we're learning that former EACC boss has been summoned in line with the COVID millionaires. We remember Halake Wako, and interestingly that he headed one of the institutions that is mandated to fight corruption in Kenya. So that is quite something there. So joining me on the panel this morning is Douglas Kirimi, all the way from Meru County. Douglas, good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Miriam Ogutu, and also to our crew back at the quarters, and also to my friend Jevan Karanja, Dr. David Masanka from the Political Command Center in London, and also to our viewers, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
All right, very well. And we're also joined by Jevan Karanja, all the way from UK. Jevan, a very good morning to you.
Yes, indeed, it's a very good morning from these sides of our country. Thanks for having me on the panel. Good morning to our viewers wherever they are watching us from. And good morning to Dr. David Matsanga from the Political Command Center. And good morning to my friend Douglas Kirimi. Thank you.
All right, very well. I don't know if a doctor has already joined. Doctor, if you're there, very good morning to you. All right, not yet, but he shall join us hopefully as we continue with this conversation. So before we get into, that other information, let me read us one of the headlines on today's papers. And former EACC boss dragged into KEMSA COVID billionaire scam. And the stories on the back page of the Daily Nation. And Parliament has summoned former anti-graft Caesar Halake Wako after he was adversely mentioned in the multi-million shilling Kenya Medical Supplies Authority scandal. The former Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission chief executive allegedly helped Azure Commercial Services secure a 347 million Kenya shillings loan from First Community Bank, FCB, to supply a K995 masks to KEMSA. Azure Director Zubeida Nyamlondo told the National Assembly's Public Investment Committee that the company had failed to raise the cash before Mr. Wako came to its rescue. Now cleared to supply 50,000 boxes of masks at 690 Kenya shillings each, Ms. Nyamlando was at pains to explain how a furniture company won a multi-million shillings medical tender. The company did not have the cash. We applied for a loan from the First Community Bank, and Mr. Wako gave us the assurance that the bank needed to approve it. The committee chairman, Mvita MP Abdul Somad Nasir, said Mr. Wako must explain how he guaranteed a company when he was neither a director nor a shareholder. And I was watching this story yesterday, on the news, and I just could not believe, what I was hearing. And to know that the person now being mentioned, of course, he will be called and he will be summoned so that he's able to answer to some of these issues that were raised by this lady. But to know that he's a former boss of the EACC, and we know how he performed during his tenure. I don't know what do you make up all these stories before we get into the rest of what we'll be talking about today. I'll start with you, Douglas.
Thank you, Miriam. And we need to understand that as a country where we are now, we are at a situation where the Caesar's wife was not above reproach. This is Arake Wako. This is a man that has been accused of receiving bribes and corruption proceeds, and also building plots and grabbing public land, and also building plots and developing plots in Isiolo town and also different parts of Isiolo County. This is a man that has been accused of grabbing public lands and also receiving proceeds of corruption. I am not surprised that this case has come back to haunt him at KEMSA even after leaving office. This is a wife to Caesar that was not above reproach, and this is what we are not going to permit happening in our public sphere. At the end of the day, Miriam, the fight against corruption should not have black spots and also some white dents where we cannot prosecute these people. As a country, we need to be very clear. If we are in love with Arake Wako for his service at EACC, as a country, to surrender him to prosecution, for him to be prosecuted for his crimes, economic crimes that he has committed, because the wife of Caesar must be above reproach. And this EACC boss, former EACC boss, was not above reproach. This is a man that was receiving bribes with reckless abandon. This is a man that has continued working to continue delaying the war against corruption, when we have appointed him and given him a public mandate to protect the property of Kenyans and also our taxes from these crooks. At the end of the day, Arake Wako has shown us his true colors, and truly, the wife of Caesar was not above reproach. So I'm asking that the investigations continue so that he can be brought to book. If he has stolen public resources, the Assets Recovery Authority go forward, take his properties, take his vehicles, and take him to prison, Miriam. The same law I'm saying should apply, because the rule of law is the rule of law. If William Ruto evidence is brought on board, all his cases, the Muteshirand is never paid Muteshirand against court orders. These things, all of them, they should be outed and taken to court and also be taken to prison, Miriam. Right. I'm thankful to BBI process, because this bill says that these court cases will be taking a maximum of 2 years, and will be determined. By 2022, would have taken William Ruto, Arake Wako, and others to prison, Miriam, because these are corrupt people, and these are people that are destroying the fulcrum of our society. I submit.
Thank you so much. And in a very short bit, Douglas, we'll get into some of the proposals in the PPI on how moving forward, we will be tackling corruption in a more effective way should the PPI, Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020 pass there. So now the real faces of COVID millionaires are now coming out. We need Mr. Wako here. We have the wrong person in front of us, said Nairobi Women Representative Esther Passaris. The MPs also want to establish why the company which had an account at Kenya Commercial Bank opted to borrow from First Community Bank, and we know First Community Bank, who banks there. Now, KCB is a big bank that can approve a loan from even 2 billion Kenya shillings. Why did the company settle on Community Bank post Kaloleni Member of Parliament Paul Katana, and yet the official bank account of that company is with Kenya Commercial Bank? Douglas, and to know that this company was registered as a furniture company but supplied medical. Jevan.
Thank you. Yeah, let me say this. If the people that we expect to drive the war against corruption are the people who raises integrity questions, then as a country, we are heading in the wrong direction. Halaki Wako was a man who we thought was doing the right things. But if the ball now turns and rolls towards him, then we are heading on the wrong direction. And it is high time the people we appoint to lead these commissions that fight corruption like EACC, we need to get persons who qualify, who have the best qualification and are people of reputation, and people who have not known to engage in corruption-related scandals in this country. We should go back as the days they were in high school, so that we are able to form a very concrete background information on who heads these institutions. Because if we get people who are not well or up to the task, if we get people who have engaged in one way or in corruption in their previous careers, in their previous lives, then we as a country will not be able to benefit a lot. But all said, we need to amplify the fight against corruption so that we ensure those who are culprits, they are taken to a court of law, they serve a jail sentence, and they are punished severely so that they serve as an example to others who might want to join in that bad wagon of corruption group. Therefore, it is high time as a country, and I'm happy through the BBI that we are coming up with very up-to-date recommendations, up-to-date ways and mechanisms to ensure that the fight against corruption will not be just a talk, but we'll walk the talk, and a lot will be achieved. But on that same note, Miriam, we have seen the agency that deals with the recovery of the assets and recovery agent that deals with the money that was stolen through corruption related, recovering quite huge amount of money. Therefore, this sends a signal that as a country, we can achieve much if we have the right people in these agencies and institutions. If we have the right, we have the political and the goodwill from our political prayers, and that, for example, the President Uhuru has it, and he is trying to ensure that even his friends, his close allies who are mentioned or who engage in corruption, they are taken to a court of law. Therefore, that is something that should set as an example, even to the presidents who will come in future, that if you are the president, you need to fight this pandemic of corruption in this country, because the amount of money that is lost in corruption is amount that can be used to transform this country, is amount that can be used to make this country a middle-class earning economy, is amount that can make this country to stand in the global map as a country that is really developing and heading to the right direction. Therefore, I agree we need to fight corruption, and we need to do it in speed, so that as we head to 2022 corruption, people who have engaged in corruption, people who are culpable of engaging in all these manner of dramas and causing this country to suffer, they should not be given a chance to vie and to run for political offices and to elective positions, because at the end of they bring the rot to other people in the service. Therefore, it is high time that, and even the chapter 6 of the Constitution about leadership and integrity, it is high time that is made to work as we head to 2022 general election, so that we see as a country if we can try to get at least 70% of leaders elected into assemblies and national parliament, persons who are of integrity, honest people who have worked hard and to gain wealth or to get where they are through honest means. But we should discourage people who ride on corruption, who use other kind of intimidation and discriminative measures to get to possession of power. Therefore, it is high time that we deal with the corruption, and I hope the BBI will address that. And as a country, all of us, as a people, voters, leaders, we should join hands to ensure that we fight this pandemic one and for all.
All right. Very well. So the committee was shocked to learn that the company won the tender without producing a letter of intent, and members of parliament believe there are more powerful people behind it who used Ms. Nyamolondo as a proxy. Ms. Nyamulondo told MPs that she just walked into the procurement manager's office, Charles Juma, who is now suspended, where she was simply asked to produce samples of the masks. 4 days later, she won the tender just like that. Oh, wow. And now KRA has told the committee that 77 companies that supplied COVID-related materials failed to declare sales as required by the law. The Commissioner General Kithi Mburu told MPs that KRA will file a report in Parliament regarding the money they are owed in taxes. All right, go after them. Every one of them, go after them, and they should return the overpriced money that they got extra there. So, of course, in that case, we shall continue following for you. And so now let's just get to our topic of the day, which, of course, is corruption and how BBI is proposing to tackle corruption. And just before Yes. Now, the BBI report proposes reforms to tame runaway corruption, including by barring state officers from doing business with the government. Because we know right now, as it is, that conflict of interest is still there in our constitution that says if you're working in government, if you're a civil servant, you cannot do business with the government. But I think BBI also goes ahead to propose even members of your family, anyone related to you, cannot do business with the government if you were a civil servant there. But we see we sort of have a law like that that is not exactly followed. So I don't know, Douglas.
Thank you. On this television before that, there is a general in the USA that went ahead and also add about a policy document that was talking about private security contractors and also buying ammunitions and also buying firearms for the military and to equip these private contractors. And he went ahead and also told the wife, now you need to go on television and accuse me of things and ask for divorce. After the wife and asked for the divorce, the wife went ahead and also registered a security company. So when they take to set up the panel that will choose who will be the tendering committee now, the general set up the tendering committee and made sure that this tendering committee is filled with his own people and instructed them, when the time comes after 2 years, pick my wife. So the general went ahead and took the letter to President, I think it is President Bush, and said, Mr. President, I want to resign and go and serve my country in other capacities. And nobody understood what was happening. So later on, the wife now comes and also wins a multi-billion-dollar tender from a government in the USA, from the federal government of America. So at the end of the day, when the wife won the tender from the company that she had registered during the divorce process, the general came back now and the wife and went on national television on Good Morning shows and said that it was the devil that was trying to destroy their marriage and nothing can start between two people that God has brought together. So corruption is not only in our country, corruption is even in developed countries. And this kind of corruption is what we are talking about. When people want to supply KMC, Kenya Meat Commission, you supply through your son and through your company because you're influential in government. And this is what William Ruto should be ashamed of. I think this is the reason why he's fighting PPI to the nil. But he has lost the battle now. The man has surrendered yesterday. I heard him say from Karen that even if he remains alone, he will continue with the journey fighting, because everyone in Mount Kenya, people are running away. In Kajiado, people are running away. Everywhere in Trans Nzoia, they are embarrassing their man. But at the end of the day, Miriam, what I'm asking is that the Assets Recovery Authority be empowered in such a way that Douglas Bundi Keremi, if he is found culpable and with clear evidence that I have stolen from the public, these monies should be recovered immediately and be sold when these properties are at their peak, when my property is already in the market. For example, the vehicles that were towed during the Aurora and Kimwarel investigations, these vehicles in about 2 and 3 years, because of tear and wear, they are going to lose their value. We need to sell these properties. If the vehicle was bought at 32 million, we need to at least sell it at 25 or 30 million shillings and lose 2 million. But we cannot continue taking these properties and holding them. court orders should be granted, and if the government cannot do that, as a private citizen, I have the right to go and take orders from the court that can compel the Assets and Recovery Authority, so that when they recover your property, Miriam, your chopper, your vehicles that were recovered from Karen and from some individuals' homes, the towers that were recovered, those towers can now be put into a public auction so that we can recover this money immediately and continue building the nation. Miriam, the money that we lose to corruption in this country, that money can fuel, can be able to fund and also fuel our economy for about 3 to 5 years without us asking for taxes. Actually, people should pass the BBI bill, and also when it comes to the referendum question of yes and no, they should vote for yes, so that we can pass this amendment bill, so that we can now continue as a people, as a country, dealing with these issues of corruption decisively. For example, Miriam, people that stole over 7 billion, they said it is only 7 billion, as if 7 billion is 6 shillings. They said 7 billion, and when this money is totaled, and also remember whose company insurance was paid for 20 billion for the 2 projects, it is Amacor Insurance. This year, I'm going to say the truth, Miriam. I'm going to be held by the facts that I state on this television, because, Miriam, we are keeping these people in public office and losing property of high value in this country, because when land is grabbed in this country, the Assets and Recovery Authority is not recovering that directly to government. 20 billion from an insurance company. We need to recover 20 billion from that insurance company without any qualms and whims that we are seeing today under this dispensation where we are in today. We are seeing people who are corrupt in this country, Miriam, continue stealing from public, and these monies are not returned to the public. We want the Assets and Recovery Authority empowered in such a way to take the properties immediately and sell it and bring the money back to the economy and bring back money to the government. For the sake of it, millionaires, these people their property should be taken, KRA take their taxes, and then the money returned to the government again, Miriam, for us to be able to buy more vaccines, to fight corruption in this country. Yes. And I'm happy BBI report is going to tackle this problem. We are going to sell your choppers, your vehicles, and your homes. Everywhere you have corrupted, you have taken, and also process of corruption have worked there. Miriam, we are going to take it, and we shall not be sorry as a country, because iko katiba.
Sawa. And Miriam does not even have a chopper, so don't worry. Okay, so there's a place here, Douglas and Javan, where I think we will have a serious problem in one of the proposals that the BBI has outlined there, that I think a lot of our political class are not very happy with. And maybe this is just one of the key things where they're feeling BBI is not something they want to vote for, but because they cannot come out and speak against this article that is included in the BBI, they'll have to use now other issues to try to justify why they're not supporting the BBI, because in order, of course, we've seen how a lot of public officials there have been endearing themselves to the public through harambes and handouts, which is aimed at, of course, hoodwinking the public about their generosity. And this is what the BBI is suggesting, that it seeks to have graft cases expedited and state officials or officers barred from making donations. We'll look at the expedition of these cases, but state officers, according to the BBI, will be barred from making donations without declaring the source of their contribution. And government officials who make monetary contributions exceeding 50,000 Kenya shillings shall remit the contribution through electronic means for traceability by the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Commission. So those are two issues. One, if you're making a contribution exceeding 50,000 Kenya shillings, and then we need to know, you need to transmit, you need to give that contribution in a way that it can be traced. I think that also will curb the issue of money laundering that we've seen has been very rampant in our economy right now. But also donations without declaring the source of the contributions. You have to declare before you become very generous. Chevan.
That is a very good recommendation to us Kenyans, but I know to the political players, they don't sit plenty when they see those kind of recommendations coming on board. But before I indulge in that issue, there's an issue you have asked Douglas about the elected leaders doing business with the government. You know, the problem is these people, they control the procurement. They have their people in the procurement committees in various, maybe in the counties and so on. And they end up getting some tenders to supply materials to the government, to supply some goods to the government. Therefore, that will go in a long way to ensure that these people, the public will be the one who get these tenders, and other investigation should be done, and that is through. And another good thing is that even their close relatives, people from their families, should also not engage in business, because you have seen as the elected leaders having their family, their sons, their daughters engaging and doing business with the government. Therefore, BBI is bringing a lot of solution, because at the end of the day, members of the public will be the one who will benefit to supply these tenders, to supply the government with some materials and goods, and they will be held accountable. Because when you are a leader and you do this business with the government, there is an interest, there is conflict of interest, and sometimes because of their influence, they end up hiding some files, some data from the public, and they run away with the amount of money. Therefore, that is a good thing, is a good solution. And anybody who goes to this elective position, they should have it in back of their mind that they are going to serve the people of Kenya. It is not an entity. You know, we have reduced politics in this country to be an entity, to be kind of an investment where you go to enrich yourself. But it should come to us that when you go to this elective position, you are doing service to the people of Kenya. And that is what we should expect as a people. But it's so bad that when you go to some place in this country, you hear people say that we are creating a job to this member of MCA. It is his time. It is his turn to eat. Therefore, we need also to come up as voters. When we go to vote, we look to the ballot paper as a means of getting the services that we need, as a way, as a gateway to development and good services in this country. On the issue of the other point in regard to the fight against corruption, yes, the government should ensure that apart from you engaging in and deterring you from doing the business with the government, you know, we have an issue. And you know, when Mzee Jomo Kenyatta brought the issue of Harambee and so on, that was to come and we pull together so that we build a school, a hospital. But things have changed. We are beyond that. And we have a government that is vibrant. And the reason why we vote government is so that they can bring these services to us. Therefore, when the leaders now, they go, they steal, and they bring those money in form of donations, in form of wheelbarrows and handouts, then as a country, we are losing the meaning of having these leaders elected, because now they come, they pretend to offer instant solutions to the problem that affect us. We saw it in Nairobi when Mike Sonko was the governor. He used to come with trucks full of water, and he used to provide water with his Sonko rescue team. Instant solutions. And the people, they tend to see as the government of the day is not working to elevate or to remove them from the suffering they are in. But the government is there so that it can provide services. It is not the work of politicians to come up with 50,000, 100,000 in the name of building a school, in the name of building a hospital. When they have the NCCDF money, they fail to account for the big millions of money that they are given, and they try to bring small peanuts of what they have stolen to the people of Kenya so that they look as saviors. Therefore, the BBI is going a long way to ensure that we as Kenyans, we hold our leaders and will not depend on the handouts that they give us, but will depend on good leadership that will provide and bring solutions, that will bring good roads, good hospitals that are full equipped and have the right medicines and drugs at the pharmacy department. Therefore, that is the kind of thing that we need to have. Therefore, deterring politicians from giving above 50,000 in this, they should account where are you getting this money, because you have seen politicians in this country who donate 10 times of what they they have as a salary of what they receive as a salary. Therefore, it is high time as a country we move and we try to curb the corruption, and we ensure that we are corrupt-free nation. Therefore, that is a good recommendation. Let leaders be accountable, and we should also have the lifestyle audit, as President Uhuru was talking about, so that all leaders, we can know the source of their wealth, where they get. But I know that thing is a thorn in the flesh, because a lot of politicians are not willing to go through that route of lifestyle audit. And I think the BBI is a good document. Let's have it and let it go to implementation, so that we fight all these kind of things. And if we avoid handouts from our politicians, Kenyans will be able to make good decisions without influence of money, without influence of these handouts. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Douglas, 2 issues. Any state officer will be barred from making donations without declaring the source of the contributions. That's number 1. And then number 2, if you're making any contribution exceeding 50,000 Kenya shillings, you shall remit the contribution through electronic means, M-Pesa, bank account, like that, so that it's able to be traced by the Anti-Corruption Economic Crimes Commission if need be.
Thank you, Miriam. I have no problem with that. If I want to donate to my local community and they tell me you need to deposit that money in M-Pesa, actually, if it is 200,000, my brother owns a few M-Pesa shops. I go and deposit there, then and come and transfer to them. Then they will have the receipts. If I have to go and do the bank transfer, I'll do that. I have no problem. Anywhere they can trace the money, I have no problem. Uhuru Kenyatta has no problem with donating 1 million shillings and tells us this is the milk that is sold at Brookside. This is his retirement. Raila Odinga as Spectre International. There is no problem giving out a check from Spectre International. He has no problem at all. We have one man who has a problem, a man who has never been employed anywhere in his life. Miriam, I've told you I have pay slips since I was in university. I've had pay slips from my own father who gave me a small job. And at the end of the day, Miriam, these pay slips, everyone keeps them. Even Jivan, even yourself, you have your first pay slip. You know where you have been employed before. But we have a bunch of people who are gold scammers, who are conmen in this town, and who are also corrupt government bureaucrats in this country who have a problem with that. Miriam, if I have to transfer 50,000 today to Jevan Karanja, who is my good friend, if I tell him to book an hotel for me in Nanyuki, I have no problem sending that money over M-Pesa. Why would Jevan wait for me to come so that I will write money to him with a bag? They have a problem with that because it curtails their money laundering schemes and also where that money came from. For example, if I received a 200 million bribe in US dollars, why would I take it to the bank where I will be asking for the documentations and they will know that I'm right? These are the people having problem with this, and I'm happy that the BBI is coming to curb this vice, and we are going to have clear evidence of where you are getting your money. If you're donating 5 to 10 million shillings every Sunday, you have to show us where your money is coming from. Why don't you carry checks? We have seen people in public before donate in form of checks so that that money can be deducted in your bank account, where that money has true documentation of where you have made your money. No one has a problem with that. There are only a few bunch of people who continue defrauding the public of their resources and giving them a small portion. Then they are hailed as people who want to save this country. Miriam, this country has billionaires. People work for their money. I bet you're not going to transfer all of your salary at the end of the month to your villagers because you care about them. You care about them, but everyone works for their own bread and water. But these people want to tell us that the people of Kenya don't want such transparency for their public officials. Everyone, Miriam, in this country, including private citizens, we need to know if you can donate 500 million in a period of 1 year or 2 years. Where did you get 500 million? There is no problem with that. Nobody has a problem, Miriam, of asking why you are donating. Donating to an needed cause is not a problem. But where do you get these monies? Why do people like carrying money in sacks? It is actually cheaper operating an M-Pesa account or operating a bank account than carrying money around. It also endangers your life. For example, if you have a small phone, you can carry
more than 200,000 in it and donate to churches and also people that you want to send money to, and nobody will ask you. Nobody will know what you are doing. This is what we want for this country, and this is what the people across board should understand, that we need transparency in how our public affairs are run by our politicians, so that they cannot continue harassing Chinese contractors, so that they cannot continue harassing the JICA contractors in this country, so that the American contractors will not be harassed, and then investor will not be harassed, so that they will be giving money that will be taken to churches, so that you can show God how you are close to him, and others are pagans because they are not stealing public resources and defrauding investors to donate to churches. Miriam, donating to churches is not a problem, and Kenyans have no problem with that. What we have a problem is when you don't declare the source of your money, and that is what we are saying. Entrench it in the constitution, so that when these leaders come with their monies, with 2 million shillings, 3 million shillings, declare the money, declare the source of the money. There is no problem. The only problem comes from gold scammers, from people who have been defrauding investors. Makidu Motors lost over 300 million shillings at the office of Deputy President Arambia Next at Vadifro. They lost the money. It is in public domain, Miriam. I'm the first person to say that. People have been losing money. The people that lost money in the fake arms deal, it was a multi-billion shilling deal that they lost their monies. We need to know these people who continue defrauding the public and stealing from the public. How are they going to be accountable, to be held accountable? Miriam, the people that stole the Aurora and Kimwarel money went on to buy vehicles and also build hotels in Mombasa, buy support from churches, and also get these churches to continue supporting them. At the end of the day, Miriam, we need to know the root cause of where are they getting the money. If it is corruption, BBI says, brothers and sisters, that you are going to prison in less than 2 years. The court cases that continue dragging in courts today will be finalized in less than 2 years, so that you can go to prison, people of Kenya return their money, and so that you can find closure, because you are a thief of public resources. You are committing economic crimes against the people of Kenya, and Kenyans have no problem with you. It is your actions that are coming to haunt you. It is your actions that will out you out of office, out of your position roles, and out of your private offices, and take you to prison, Miriam. And that is what we are advocating for. And I like that segment. I'm going to preach it before the BBI yes or no campaign comes into the country. Yes. We shall now get an opportunity to be able to jail thieves who steal public resources, led by Moses Kuria, who was a student from NGCDF, Rigathi Gachagua, was a student from Madeira, Dende Nyoro, Aris Waome, and all those people who have been accused by EACC. It is in public domain they have been stealing. If you have stolen public resources, please belt up and wait for your prison term, and we return your money. As we take your choppers and sell your hotels in Mombasa, that money that was meant for Aurora and Kimwarel, you have gifted your people with thickets and bushes instead of giving them dams like President is doing to Karimeno people in Kiambu County. Why would you steal from your people and continue lying to them that you are going to transform their lives when you become president? Such pretense is what BBI is dealing with. We are not dealing with the personalities here. We are dealing with the economic crimes. We are dealing with the corruption cases and people that continue curtailing the way of the progress and also development of the people of Kenya, so that development cannot trickle down to the counties and also rural areas. Miriam, thank you, and I submit.
Well, thank you so much. Very well said there. I think any Kenyan who is of sound mind will be very passionate when it comes to corruption, because we know how much corruption has affected especially key sectors in this country that affect directly the lives of Kenyans. We've seen public institutions, we've seen our education sector, we've seen now the KEMSA that has greatly affected the health sector here, and we've seen also how that has, and a lot of doctors have lost their lives who needed, the PPEs to save their lives there, and many other things. So these are things that are very close to Kenyans. So we should all be outraged. And the reason why we should all be outraged last year, I think, let me just read this, why I think fighting corruption is very important. And perhaps some of these proposals in the BBI will go, a long way in ensuring that corruption is defeated. Last year, we were discussing that report of about 224 billion Kenya shillings worth of pending cases in the court, and how much money, Kenyans have lost in the past, I don't know how many years. We saw that yesterday, and I mean, not yesterday, but a couple of weeks ago when we were discussing that report by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, and we were stunned by how much money is lost here. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta the other day, when he mentioned how much money has been lost in a span of a year, Kenyans were disgusted, and it's not good. So we have to keep speaking about it. So one of the key things here that is included in the BBI report, Javan, is that the public officials must declare the wealth, and the declaration of wealth has to be made public.
And that is a very good thing, and we need to know, are these leaders, where do they get their wealth? And by doing that, we go back to when President Uhuru Kenyatta called for lifestyle audit of all elected leaders, and you saw the backlash and the noise that came with it from those people who don't support the war against corruption. Therefore, the leaders must declare, so that we know the leaders that are looking and are willing and to go for these elective positions, where do they get their money? So that if we come and we realize that you have been getting your wealth through dubious and miscellaneous means, then we bar you from running for a political or elective office. That is something that we need, so that in public service, we'll have people who are of high integrity, people who are honest, and people who have gained their wealth through honest means. By doing that, we'll be sure that the people we have in office will be able to transform and to bring development in this country. That is something that will go way much in fight against corruption. We have seen leaders who have been engaging in corruption, and what they do, they come with the peanuts of what they have stolen to give Kenyans as handouts, to give Kenyans in form of wheelbarrows and other things, so that the people of Kenyans might start thinking that these are the saviors, and that is how they find their way into office, through corrupting the voters. Therefore, by doing that, we ensure that those who engage in corruption, they go in jail and they serve their jail sentence, and this country will look and they'll serve an example to those people who might want to ride on corruption as a means to get to political office. That is something that I support. And the BBI, most of the people who fight the BBI, they're fighting the BBI because of such clauses, because of such articles that talks about the matter fight against corruption. We have seen the money that the agents and asset recovery has recovered. That amount of money, the figures that Miriam you have just mentioned, that is almost to what the county government has been receiving. They have been receiving 316 million from the national government. If amount that is close to what our county governments are getting is getting lost through corruption related scandals, then as a country we need to wake up and fight this monster, so that this money can be channeled toward development and making bettering this country, the health facilities, roads, railways, so that we have a country that is maybe a middle earning class in terms of economic status and in terms of political awareness. That is the right way to go. Let's fight corruption jointly as a country, so that we have a prosperous nation that all Kenyans will be proud to belong to. And by doing that, leaders will stop the habit of giving Kenyans handouts. They'll stop that habit of giving wheelbarrows, because Kenyans will be woken up. People of this country will vote leaders based on Chapter 6 of our Constitution. Thank you.
All right, very well. And of course, in that proposal, Ethics and Anti-Corrupt Integrity Laws, a bill 2020 further states that every state officer shall submit to the EACC personal wealth, interest, and financial declaration. This shall be done within 30 days of being appointed or elected and sworn in. They also make annual declaration on the first day of November. The information shall be accessible to the public, provided that those who seek it, will find it, and you're supposed to do that. But if a person who, despite being aware of a suspicious of the commission of an offense under this act, fails to report the act to the commission, that is the act of corruption, you are eligible and of an offense and shall be liable to on conviction to fine not exceeding 5 million shillings or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 5 years or so. So if you conceal corruption, if you don't declare your wealth properly and the EACC finds out, so they some punitive laws there that will take care of you. So I think those are quite interesting proposals there. Doctor, as we conclude, I'm sure you've been listening to the conversation. Conclude for us.
Thank you very much, Miriam. I don't have very many words. I have very few words. One, what surprised me was the woman who took 347 million. The dress code yesterday in Parliament. Why did the Parliament allow a woman to wear something hiding and allow her to come in Parliament? That is one thing that annoys me. We should respect the Parliament. Institutions must be respected. The committee should have told this woman to get out, go back, dress properly. Who can't wear like that when you have 347 million? Such people in China end up with a single plate because of corruption. She's worse than the person who told her to go and pick the 47 million. Two, chase the link between Wako, Juma, and the woman Zubeida. It means corruption also has a religion. Hariki Wako sent Zubeida to Juma. Have you seen that? Kemusa, the money purchasing manager is Juma. The woman is sent in the middle is Zubeida. What is her name? Zubeida?
And community bank is for the Muslim faith.
Yes. And then the community bank, and then where money was drawn. So you arrest all of them from the community bank drawn account, because we are told not to draw more than 1 million shillings. Miriam, you have your money and you have your children dying of hunger and they all want school fees. You go to the bank right now, your bank, and say, I want 1.2 million shillings. They will not give you. So how did Wako receive 347 million? Arrested the people in the community bank. If we are to take out corruption, DPP, DCI must go deeper to ask how the regulation of the central bank was contravened. 347 million drawn once. Two, given to Zubeida to Juma. Juma back, it is like a football. Mupira na kadenge na mpira. When I grew up, kadenge was mupira, kadenge. The late kadenge. That was the man. And then there was another gentleman whom I saw. Dako. Not Dako. What is this guy from Gomaria? The tall guy, a very good player, tall. He could play. It is Zubeida to Juma to Kasim. I believe even the suppliers were Kasim Mohammed, because they did not want this thing to be hidden. Japan to David to Douglas. Then Douglas go to Equity Bank. Arrest everybody from Equity Bank. How did that money work? The last thing before our time is out, it's very important, Miriam, to check on this. It is corruption to be fought. There must be a deterrent. That's why BBI has come in with a deterrent. 2 years, your case is over. Does anybody know where the former governor of Nairobi is? The first former governor, Kidero. How many corruption charges did Kidero stand? Kidero now is campaigning in Homa Bay to become the governor of Homa Bay. None of his cases has ever been solved. How many cases does the former second governor of Nairobi have? How many has he got? He has several cases in court, all of them. Do you know that? How many of you remember Kemerol and Emerol? It is dying slowly. The DPP is not even going there. Sorry, he's in a mourning period. We don't want to talk about him. There are other people in the department who should go. You know, he's just lost his father. He's a younger man. So, but there are people in the department who should go. Arrest these people. That is when you deter corruption. From Waruke example, some people have been quiet, very difficult. This Kemusa smells. Well, that guy from EACC, when he was there, he cleared so many people. Medium, half a second, he cleared so many people. One of the people that the EACC should bring cases back is that woman, Shore, Gladys Shore boss. Yes, building a court, a house of the High Court judge, the Chief Justice, where they don't sleep, but only rats sleep there. Rats and the mouse and the cockroaches, maybe. They are sleeping in there. And she was cleared. She's all over the whole of television, everywhere. Uru is very bad. Uru is very bad. Where? Thank you. Such cases should be revived. Yes. Because Wako, that guy Wako, cleared so many people. He messed the EACC. Now he has been caught. Let him tell us. This is like a Kabura. Kabura. Wake up in the morning without shoes. Your legs have got marks. Marks, you know those counters that break on the legs when you were digging in the villages those days. Then you will end up that you are also speaking English and you are in a town with 68 million. Was it 68 million shillings in cash? Everybody from that community bank, the watchman, because we must be protected, we must be very, very, very nationalistic. 1, patriotic. 2, 3, watchful. Thank you. We must watch. The policemen who were guarding the bank when Warako was removing 347 cash or 200,000 million cash. You know that's money that needs security firm to escort, isn't it? That is, you must be have the general service unit escorting you. Who escorted Wako to the bank? Where did this woman keep the money? And the people are asking why the woman got the contract. That figure cannot fail Juma to give the contract. That's it. Thank you very much. I don't want to go beyond that. But the figure of the woman, she looks very presentable. In front, I don't know. But the only bad problem is to wear a hat. We want to see her so that when we see her in matatu, when we see her in a matatu, even if you don't reach her, you shout at her, tell her, you thief. You know, do you know that if somebody shouts at you, that you wewe kondo in public, hata watu wa gari wanaangalia wewe ndani, yo kondo huyo, you will not steal again. Name and shame. Thank you. Good afternoon.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Douglas and Javan as well. Thank you. I shall be seeing you very shortly with the news from across the continent. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you very much.
peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.